So, but in any love relationship, whether it's with your partner or your grown child, once your children grow up, the other person is going to break your heart. No question about it. So love is not actually, it doesn't have a lot to do with romance, even though we feel a romance in the beginning, whether we're falling in love with a baby or we're falling in love with a partner. There's that sense of a kind of idealized state that's right at the beginning. But that's just like going through the door. After that,
I think I just saw a film where one character is saying to the other something to the effect that their brain was on drugs during that infatuation stage. I'm somebody who is very attached to infatuation, and I'd never conceived it that way before. I mean, our whole way of perceiving and everything, it's like our brain is flooded during that infatuation period.
No, it truly
we
is.
now understand with chemicals. So yes, you're on drugs, and that's why it's all magical.
Yes, exactly. It's a psychotic delusion.
Yeah.
But it's going both ways. Well, it's idealizing. It's idealizing. So I always say it like this, that you look into the mirror of your beloved's eyes during the romance and you say, hey, I'm the fairest in the land. And the other one is looking into a similar mirror that's saying, I'm the fairest in the land. And so both people feel like if they're with somebody that makes the mirror, that has to be a good enough mirror. But when they look into it, they feel like they're wonderful people, and they feel both of them are wonderful, wonderful together, wonderful as individuals, amazing, uplifting, and it's a delusion because that's not possible for human beings. We're all really flawed. We're all very unconscious. We all have a lot of needs, and the needs conflict with each other.
Yeah.
Nobody has their needs lined up. And so it is really like a wonderful psychotic delusion when you fall in love. And it's kind of,
I guess when the infatuation goes away, that can be really a bummer. It's kind of like withdrawal from that drug, right?
You can feel betrayed simply by the natural and normal processes of moving in together, say, or your child turning into a teenager. I mean, in both of those situations, you're going to hit a lot of disillusionment. You're just going to hit right up front, power struggle, disillusionment. You're going to see the reality of the other person not really agreeing with you, not being coordinated with your needs and desires. And then what do? This
is the first time I've heard the sort of infatuation dynamic applied to one's children. And yeah. I have grandchildren now, and I suppose it can even apply there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, when you have a baby, you fall in love with that baby. I mean, and that baby becomes this wonderful toddler who looks up to you, and you're the fairest in the land again.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're very, very infatuated with the baby and the toddler, and they're infatuated with you. And that can go on sometimes through grade school. Then boom, it goes away, and it never comes back again, really, until you have your grandchildren. But I think that it's the same mechanism. When we fall in love with an idealized fantasy of what's going to complete us and help us and make us feel better. And then when we actually love, we're dealing with another person who has a different subjective world, and we're having to accept that person as the person is and remain interested. And it's going to break our heart in some way because, people just don't line up with everything you want. I mean, your beloved is going to get ill. Your kid is going to get divorced. Even if you really have a close friend that you love, there's going to be a lot of competition there between the two of you. So, the way I think about the spiritual path of love, it actually prepares you to live with a broken heart. I very much like Leonard Cohen's ideas, and he's one of my favorite singer-songwriters.
Mine too. Yeah, mine too.
And he says, you know, I'd like to write a manual for living with defeat. And I sort of feel that's what, in some ways, love between equals. It's really about how do you continue to love when you feel that you can't trust the other person, or your heart has been broken because your beloved has betrayed you, or because your adult child has done something that you could never have imagined. Can you continue to love? And of course, the path of love is, of course you could continue.